All right. We are back. This is episode number 1 in season. I know this isn't our first episode, but it's our first one in season. So, although week 1 isn't until Thursday, week 0 already started last Saturday. So, Colin, talk to us about this Florida State Georgia Tech game. Is this the way you thought it was going to go? How was the environment over in Dublin?
Yeah, Dave, first, I just want to say welcome back, man. We missed you last episode. Hope you had a great time. Hope you had some time with the family. We're happy to have you back, ready to get this thing rolling again. Yeah, 24-21. If I told you that score ended 24-21 a week ago, you probably would have thought Florida State got away with that one, snuck it out. Man, throughout this whole entire game, I kept telling myself, hey, Florida State's going to sneak this out. You and I conversed about this. I said, hey, don't sweat it. At the very end of this game, Florida State will sneak this one out. Florida State did not sneak this one out. Georgia Tech really impressed me. I think they dominated this game in the trenches for sure. Offensive line really opened it up. Haynes King used his legs a lot. Really impressive with the legs. Really opened some things up. You have Jamal Haynes at running back. What a great complimentary piece he was for Haynes King in this one. A lot of Haynes here. Trying not to jumble them all up. But, what a complimentary piece. Thought they played well together. Thought they bounced well off each other. DJ Uiagalelei, I guess it's to the point now where there's a reason he's at his third school. Really, I'm very disappointed with how he played in this game. I felt like he could not get the ball past 10 yards down the field. And I really think Florida State was expecting a lot more from him in this game, and he just really let them down. The receivers, they didn't really impress me either. I don't feel like they got a ton of separation, but I do remember 2 plays off the top of my head where DJU just flat out missed open touchdowns just by not making the throw. I don't really know where Florida State goes from here. Does this bring up a quarterback battle? I really do think it does, Dave. I don't know if you logged a whole lot of time with this game, but I mean, what were your kind of thoughts on this?
Man, I'm usually the kind of guy to say, hey, give them a couple reps, let them keep going. But truthfully, I think at about third quarter, they should have probably pulled him and tried somebody else. I mean, it's already not going your way. Go ahead and throw somebody else in there. I was hoping DJ would do great, but I mean, anything over 10 yards, it seemed like he never played football before. He did have a couple of good runs, some decent throws, but he also overthrew a lot. He overthrew a lot, and at this level, that's not acceptable. If you're a starting quarterback, you got to make those throws. That's why you are at the elite schools. But again, Georgia Tech, I thought, their defensive line did a great job. Truthfully, I think Georgia Tech just played overall solid all the way around. Haynes King, what a way to run. I mean, I was having a blast just watching them, and I don't know the guy.
And to your point, I really thought Georgia Tech maybe just looked more prepared. And that's no shot across the bow at Mike Norvell. I think Mike Norvell is one of the best in the business. Or maybe not prepared more, maybe just hungrier. Maybe they had something to prove more than Florida State did. Maybe they really wanted to punch this team in the mouth and get it started that way and shock the country right out of the gate. And man, did they do that. What an exciting way to start the season. What a way to kick it off. That's week 0, Dave. We're not even to week 1 yet. That happened in week 0. You know what else happened in week 0? New Mexico blowing a 31-14 lead against Montana State. I don't know how much TV time you got on that one, but wow, they fell apart. They just got flat, got complacent. I'm pretty sure their win total was 1.5. I could be wrong on that. Pretty confident it was 1.5. And man, they had one right there, and they just flat out let that one go. A 35-31 final for Montana State to come back. They flipped a switch. They got it done. What did you think about it, Dave?
Oh, yeah, I mean, New Mexico State, 31-14, that's 2 touchdowns. I mean, how do you blow that? I mean, I feel like at that point, you kind of knocked them down. You should have, secured it at that point. But, this seems to be a trend in week 0 where Florida State got knocked off. Then you have New Mexico blowing that big lead. And now moving into the next game that we're going to highlight today, SMU, they barely slipped by. I mean, it was one of those where everyone expected SMU to kind of roll over them, and it didn't quite go that way. Talk to us about was SMU just not good, or tell us what happened on the SMU game.
Yeah, I don't want to panic too early here about SMU, but man, they did not look good. They did not look good for a long time. We have them at quite a high win total here for us, and I was not impressed in any facet of that game. They can't play that way against Power 4 opponents every week and expect to sneak by and come back from behind with big deficits and come back and win the game like that. They just can't. That's not going to happen week in and week out in a Power 4 schedule. That's the one thing that scares me now is they can't afford to have off games like this every week, Dave. They can't afford to go flat. They can't afford to come out and look like they have no real game plan and to get knocked back on their heels by a Nevada team who really isn't all that impressive. Luckily for them in the second half, Preston Stone started settling in a little bit. Maybe the first half was just nerves. I get it. First game of the season, you have some expectations. You're in a new conference. You really want to go out there and show it all in your first game. But what they did do, like I was alluding to, is Preston Stone settled in, found RJ Maryland a lot in their second half, and it really got their stride going. The defense really tightened up, probably had one hell of a pep talk at halftime, I would imagine. So they tightened that up a little bit, came out with a totally different game plan that looked like and really knocked Nevada back and got things going their way.
I agree. I mean, you're coming into a new conference, being SMU. I think within the program, it has to be a little bit scary because again, you're coming into a new conference and, you struggled here with Nevada, which is not a great team. No offense to them, but, SMU should have very easily beat them realistically on paper. But again, it looks like the only team that kind of things worked out in their favor was Hawaii. Hawaii did pretty good, came out strong, and finished strong versus a lot of other teams we've highlighted. Maybe you start strong, you fall off, or you just had to recover in the second half. Talk to us about Hawaii. How that game go?
Yeah, Dave, to be quite honest here, this game was real late. I didn't log a whole lot of time. I recorded it so I could look back, give us something to talk about a little bit, kind of breeze through it. And what I saw is Hawaii came out hot real quick, kind of got some things going fast. I think they kind of turned that back on towards the end of the game. Never really felt like Delaware State really had a chance in this game. But no, Hawaii didn't impress me like I really expected them to watching this back. I thought they were going to kind of blow it wide open, and they never really did. They kind of just hung around and then kicked it in the ass a little bit at the end. But not a whole lot to talk about here. Just, another Hawaii game real late at night that we're most likely not going to catch a lot of their home games live here, Dave.
So that kind of rounds off week 0. Moving into week 1, exciting stuff. Everyone's pumped about it. There's a lot of good games week 1. First game we're going to talk about is North Carolina at Minnesota. Neither one of these teams made our top 38 power ratings. So, I think neither one of the teams scored more than 25 points personally, Colin. But you talk to me about what do you think? Am I right? I just feel that if, by some chance Minnesota is able to manage Marion Hampton, I mean, we don't know what Max Johnson has. I mean, he ain't Drake May. That's something that we already know. So talk to us about that game. What can we expect? Is North Carolina going to roll over them, or what does that look like for them?
Yeah, you talked about how neither one of these teams are in our top 38 in power ratings. Doesn't mean we dislike these teams. Doesn't mean we don't think that they have talent. I do think both these teams have some talent, especially with Omarion Hampton, man. That guy's a stud at running back. We've talked about him a little bit on this channel. Very high on him. Do expect big things. But yeah, you've talked about how Max Johnson comes in a quarterback for Drake May. And to your point, yeah, he's not Drake May. Ethan Cali-McManus transferred out from Minnesota. Max Brosmer comes in. What does that look like for the Golden Gophers? UNC is -2 favorites right now. The over-under sitting at 49.5. You talked about how you don't think either team scores over 25 points, and I'm going to sit right there with you, Dave. This is going to be a part of our Thursday best bets segment later. But yeah, I can comfortably say I do think this game shoots on the under. I don't think either offense really lights it up and finds their stride real quick here.
The other side, the next game we're going to highlight, that's going to be a huge game. I think everybody in the country is going to be watching this game. No one's going to be doing anything at 11 o'clock. Clemson plays Georgia. I think it's going to be a fantastic game, but I do think Georgia probably rolls through Clemson. But again, going back to me being tough on Dabo Swinney, this is what we're going to see. Like maybe he figures something out. I don't know. So we're going to see how Dabo does without touching the transfer portal against probably the strongest team in the country. I don't think anybody can disagree with that. Georgia is the strongest team in the country. I mean, even Nick Saban said Georgia is the strongest team in the country. So talk to us about that game. Who's going to be the difference maker there?
Yeah, Dave. So we have Georgia number 1 in our power ratings and Clemson number 12 in our power ratings. There is some questions on how Cade Klubnik's going to look. There is some questions on how this offense is going to look, how this Clemson team as a whole is going to look, and what Dabo Swinney has for expectations. And what a way to start it off against Georgia. Not the way any team wants to kickstart their season. You stare down the barrel of 0-1 right out of the gate. That's not what you want. They are 13.5-point underdogs, that Clemson that is. I do think Georgia probably gets in here, gets out with a win. I do think they cover. I'm not comfortable enough just yet to lock that in for the Saturday's best bets, but I do think Georgia goes in and takes care of business pretty easily here and covers that 13.5, Dave.
On the other hand, next game we got up is Penn State, West Virginia. You would think that Penn State, I don't think they're going to roll over West Virginia because West Virginia finished off strong last year, but I think Penn State should win this game. And I'm going to go ahead and make a very bold statement. I think if James Franklin if he loses more than 2 games, I think he's got to be out. You got to look a different direction. So James Franklin loses this one. They've got a decent schedule coming up. So you can't lose this one. Whatever you do, don't lose it. But again, it's college football. Anything can happen. So talk to us, Colin. What do you think? Does West Virginia even have a chance in this game?
Man, Dave, hollering at James Franklin early. I love it. A lot of fire. This team's got a lot of expectations. Yeah, we do have Penn State at number 7 on our list. West Virginia is unranked. I'm very excited to see how Andy Kotelnicki and Drew Aller with this new look offense start things off. Bringing Kotelnicki in, like we've talked about here a few times, as the offensive coordinator for them, that's huge. Neil Brown for West Virginia was supposed to be fired last season. There was a lot of odds out there that he wouldn't make it halfway through the season, and look what they accomplished. Coming off a great season for them. Penn State has playoff aspirations. I do look for Penn State to go in there and take care of business pretty easily. Penn State's minus 8.5. I think it should be larger than that. So you probably will see this from me on Saturday's best bets on Penn State minus 8.5, as long as that sits where it's at right now. And I can comfortably say I'm a believer in Penn State.
Going south, we're going to Florida. Big game. University of Miami against Florida. Exciting game. I'm banking on Miami. I think Miami is one of the top teams in the ACC. I know a lot of people had Florida State to win the ACC, but I got my money on Miami. So that will be a great game. Talk to us about it, Colin. Who gets the upper hand here?
Man, Dave, what a game this is going to be. I mean, we're looking at Miami minus 2.5 right now, over under sitting at 54. Miami number 10 on our power ratings, Florida number 19. The winner of this game is going to silence a lot of doubts. And with doubts, both teams have different doubts. My doubts with Miami is Mario Cristobal. He wins this game, he's going to silence some doubts for me. My doubts for Florida, I think Billy Napier has just dealt a bad hand. I don't necessarily think the guy's a bad coach. I think it's kind of maybe still too early to tell, especially because of that schedule. So the doubts for them are, can they overcome such a tough schedule? And I think this is the biggest game for both of these teams on their schedule in this season, due to the fact that it's the first game of the season. Whichever team wins this game is going to be riding high, tons of momentum, prove the doubters wrong. So I do think that this is a massive, massive game for both these programs. They already can't stand each other. Anytime these helmets are lined up across from one another, it's an absolute banger of a game. I like Miami here. I'm a huge Miami believer, not because of Mario Cristobal, but I do think what Cam Ward brings to the table really helps this team get to the next level. I think that defense will be much improved. I lean Miami here. I don't hate Florida. I am a real believer in Florida's talent, but I do think Miami gets it done, gets their season off in the right direction, and look for them to take off.
Agree more with you. I think, Miami doesn't, crush them by, 4 or 5 touchdowns, but I think they win. I think they win comfortably. I don't think it will be a game where at any point it's just going to be like, we don't know who's going to win. But
well, Dave, can you imagine what the press conference is going to be like for the losing coach? Can you imagine the write-ups for the losing coach in this? You have to go. The losing coach gets on X or Twitter, call it what you want, or has a brutal press conference. Billy Napier, if they lose this game, going to be asked, how much longer do you think they're going to put up with this here at the University of Florida, Billy? I mean, what a question he's going to have to answer. If they win, obviously he's not going to have to answer that question. But on the flip side of that, Mario Cristobal will have some real questions to answer if not. So I don't envy the losing coach of this game, Dave.
No, absolutely not. That's one of those times where you do not want to be that head coach. You know, when you're winning, everything's great, but I think both one of these coaches is going to have a real bad afternoon. But going back into coaches, next up, another game we've got is Notre Dame, Texas A&M. Mike Elko, Riley Leonard, they know each other. How's that going to go? I mean, does Riley Leonard, outplay Mike Elko? What does that look like?
You know, I think Mike Elko obviously is going to kind of know what to expect from Riley Leonard. I mean, he's been around him. So I kind of lean Mike Elko the upper hand here, though, right? And also, how healthy is Riley Leonard going to be? Does he come out here at 100%? Does he kind of push it a little early to help this Notre Dame offense get going early in the season? We just talked about a massive game for Miami and Florida for their season. Same thing here in this game. The winner of this is going to, you expect to see the winner of this game slide way up, have even higher expectations. If it's Texas A&M, nobody's going to sit there and think anymore, oh, maybe this is a bridge season and next season's really where they take off. Look for if they win this game, people to really think Texas A&M is off to the races, and they're off to the races quick. I'm still up in the air on this game. I found myself on Notre Dame. I found myself liking A&M in this game. I really don't know where I'm going to go on this game, Dave. I have no real edge here. My concern really is how that Notre Dame offensive line holds up against that Texas A&M front, especially with the Notre Dame left tackle injury. That's my biggest concern for Notre Dame in this game. I feel like if they had a healthy offensive line and 100% healthy Riley Leonard, and I felt 100% about all that, I would probably Notre Dame, I wouldn't say no doubts, but comfortably. And now with everything taken into consideration, this is going to be a great game, Dave. I mean, do you have an edge on this game? Which way are you leaning?
Man, truthfully, I know Notre Dame is a higher ranked team, but I think Texas A&M takes this one. I really do. Riley Leonard was good at Duke, but again, it's hard. It's a different ball game when you're.
Yeah, Dave. So I really think A&M needs to get the run game going in this game. They need to settle that run game in quick. They need to show that Notre Dame defensive line that they really can get in there in the trenches and push them around a little bit. I just wanted to throw that at you real quick. I feel like that's a big X factor for me in this game. Is can A&M's offensive line get a push, get that run game going? That'll really take some heat off Wegman. Let him settle in first game of the season, and I really think that'll do good things for this A&M offense. But we need to pivot off of this, and I want to talk a little bit about this LSU USC game, another game that has me really, confused and befuddled here on what direction I want to go. I think I like LSU. LSU's currently sitting at -4. We have LSU at number 14 on our power ratings, USC at number 25 on our power ratings, excuse me. The over-under sitting at 64. Expect a lot of offense here. Do you have an edge in this game, Dave? What direction are you leaning here?
Yeah, I mean, I want to believe in Lincoln Riley and USC, but I frankly don't think it's there. I know Miller Moss can be a big force there, as well as their new quarterback. A lot of expectations, but no Caleb Woods. So another big change at the quarterback position on another one of these big teams. But is Lincoln Riley on the hot seat this whole season? Because we think LSU wins this one. So you start off 0-1, and then a couple weeks down the road, you're facing Michigan. But I think if Lincoln Riley cannot make the playoffs, I think he's got to go.
Wow, Dave. I don't know if I really saw the Lincoln Riley missed the playoffs, get fired scenario coming into play in this right here, but I love it. I love bold takes. I'm all about bold takes. You know me, man. Anytime we talk college football, I give you a bold take. So hey, I'll just hop on that train with you. Lincoln Riley, see ya. Don't make the playoffs, see ya. Get out of here. We're paying you, see ya. Bye. And honestly, all jokes aside, part of me does agree with you on that a little bit. You had the Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams, first pick in the draft, Caleb Williams. You weren't getting it done then. Your defense was terrible then. I think you have to show up tons of improvement on the defensive side of the ball here. You are bringing in a new defensive coordinator. I think you need to show that you can continue the trend, how you are kind of a quarterback whisperer here, and let Miller Moss settle in again. Let him find his spot, really make big strides. But I'm with you here. I think LSU wins this game. I think it is a bad start for USC again. I don't think Lincoln Riley is off to the start that he wants.
Kind of hitting off what you talked about. University of Missouri, exciting stuff. you guys might not know this yet, but Colin and I will be going to the season opener over at Mizzou. It's gonna be a great game. We're playing Murray State, so we expect to have a lot of fun there. So if we get a chance, we might even shoot some content there. Maybe at least have some footage for you guys, so you guys can experience what we're gonna experience.
Yeah, Dave, I'm super excited to take you to your first Mizzou game. Super pumped up to do that with you. Share that memory with you. Absolutely, we'll shoot a little bit of content. Maybe try to get our first YouTube short out or Facebook short or whatever the terms are these days. We'll try to get a little bit out to you. Maybe even some TikToks. We're not great at that, but we're going to try to dip into that game a little bit. Try to give you guys as much quick stuff as we can. We may even fire some best bets real quick, or if we see something change, try to get you guys some information and bounce on it real quick with some shorts. We're going to try to start firing that stuff up for you. But yeah, Dave, can't wait. Expect a really fun environment. Really excited to show you how we do things up here at the University of Missouri. Farrell Field's a beautiful place. Can't wait.
It'll be a lot of fun, but we're gonna have to shoot across the river over to Illinois, looking into some bets, play some bets. Colin, talk to us. What are we betting? Tell me where we're putting our money.
Can't wait to pit stop over at our favorite casino in Illinois along the way. We are looking at 4 games for us to go ahead and lock in. We're looking at NC State, Western Carolina under 61, UNC, Minnesota under 49.5, Mizzou, Murray State over 57.5, and Southern Utah under 53. Now, one thing that Dave and I like to do anytime we go over there, we like to ask the nice worker at the stand, hey, can we please buy off the hook? And what that means is, hey, on that under 49.5, we want to buy that hook. And since we want the under, we want to buy that hook up. We want to get that to 50, have an even number. That way, if worst comes to worst, we can push. You'll be more surprised at how often that gets you than not if you don't take that. That is my fun fact. That is my recommendation of this episode. Always buy the hook.
Absolutely, Colin. Great bets. And if you're into bets, Colin's going to drop us another episode here before Saturday so that you guys can get the latest information on what we are putting our money on. And it's going to be exciting stuff. Colin's going to give you guys all the information, all the details, and hopefully he'll hope to make some money along the way. But for us, that's all for tonight. Expect to see us again. Expect to hear us again. We will be back, and we're going to have some great information after having a great time over the University of Missouri.
Yeah, real quick before we get off here, Dave, like you talked about, look for me to go ahead and drop you guys an episode for my Saturday's best bets. It'll either be late Friday night, early Saturday morning. I'm going to come at you guys with no editing. We're just going to shoot it. We're going to get it out to you. I'm not going to do anything fancy. It's going to come right at you. That way I can get it to you as quick as I can. Due to being at the game Thursday night, it'll be a late night. No chance we'll go ahead and get filming on that night. So really look for it Saturday morning, but I'm going to come at you guys as quick as I can. Thanks for rocking with us, guys. We really appreciate the support we've had so far. We're going to continue to try to get better and better. And just be on the lookout for our content. Like, subscribe, tell your friends about us. Thanks, guys. Can't wait to do this again with you later in the week.